November is National Diabetes Month. It's a time where the nation brings awareness to diabetes. This year's theme by the National Institute of Health is Take Diabetes to Heart. Diabetes is a condition where your body doesn't make enough insulin or it doesn't utilize insulin well. We utilize insulin to move glucose or sugar out of our blood and into the cells. By having elevated blood glucose or sugar, it can lead to damage to our blood vessels that lead to the heart. Diabetes patients are twice as likely to die from a cardiac event or stroke. Patients should know their diabetes ABCs. Continue to monitor your A1C, blood pressure, cholesterol. Continue to take your medications as prescribed by your provider, and stop smoking. If patients are not familiar with their diabetes ABCs, patients may visit the Nutrition Care Division to visit with a registered dietitian. A registered dietitian may provide guidance on lifestyle modifications, weight management, as well as to understand the diabetes disease process. The good news is that diabetes can be controlled. Many times, newly diagnosed patients or existing patients feel very overwhelmed with the information provided, the medications that one needs to take, or the continued monitoring that they have to do on a daily basis. But with the right tools, the right support system, the right education, I do feel that a patient can have their A1C well controlled and lead a normal life.
Shelter of the Most High I stay, under His shadow night turns to day, a fortress strong where fears decay, my refuge and my God, my hope won't sway. Oh, I will dwell in His secret place, covered by love, surrounded by grace. No harm can touch, no evil embrace. Under His wings I find my space. Though the arrows fly and darkness creeps, His truth's my shield, my soul He keeps. Through raging storms, through oceans deep, I rest in Him, His peace I reap. Oh, I will dwell in His secret place, covered by love, surrounded by grace. No harm can touch, no evil embrace. Under His wings I find my space. He is my rescue, my saving light. 1,000 may fall, but I take flight. His angels guard me through the night. With every step I walk in His might. Oh, I will dwell in His secret place, covered by love, surrounded by grace. No harm can touch, no evil embrace.
Greetings and welcome to the Foundation for Christ Church. I am Christopher D. Williams, the lead pastor here. And I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to come and to be with us in our service today. But listen, let's go ahead and get into today's scripture.
Joshua 1. After the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua son of Nun, Moses' aide, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now then, you and all these people, get ready to cross the Jordan River into the land I am about to give to them, to the Israelites. I will give you every place where you set your foot, as I promised Moses. Your territory will extend from the desert to Lebanon, and from the great river, the Euphrates, all the Hittite country, to the Mediterranean Sea in the west. No one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors to give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go.
Few moments, I want to talk to you from this subject, your season of transition. Listen, in our life, we all come to a point where we say enough is enough, or we have been in this situation long enough, or we have been in this place long enough, and it's time to make a move. Listen, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about sinking your life into God's timing. And the thing about it is, once you sink your life into God's timing, because God does have perfect and impeccable timing, what we find is we are now not just in his timing, but God then challenges us to start making moves. In other words, he challenges us to start transitioning from where we were into the new place and into this new space. And listen, in our text today, what we find is Joshua is now in his season of transition, because God comes to Joshua and says, Joshua, my servant Moses is dead. In other words, Moses is no longer here. So now it is your responsibility to rise up and take these people of Israel to the promised land. Now watch this. Why this is important is because Moses led the children of Israel from Egyptian captivity to the wilderness. It's supposed to be only an 11-day journey, which wound up being 40 years in the wilderness. So what should have took them 11 days to get to the promised land took them 40 years, because people did not necessarily have their right mindset. And because they didn't have the right mindset, some people were like, we were better off while we were in Egypt as slaves and what have you. But God is like, I'm transitioning you. I'm moving you to a bigger, better, and greater place. What we have to understand is this: when God transitions us, he's transitioning us into somewhere better. We always have to remember, God's plan for our lives is bigger than our plan for our own lives, and is greater than anything else that we can see or imagine ourselves. So even when you don't necessarily understand it, realize and trust that God has a plan for your life. So God comes to Joshua and says, Joshua, listen, Moses is dead. It is now your responsibility to transition these people from where they are in the wilderness into the promised land, into this prepared place. Now, what I want you to see this, I want you to understand, Joshua and Caleb are the only two from the original group that made it into the promised land. Moses didn't make it. The rest of the Israelites who were there originally coming out of captivity did not make it. So the people that made it into the promised land are now the descendants of the original group, with the exception of Joshua and Caleb. And God chose Joshua to say, listen, rise up and take responsibility. Now rise up and move these people to their new place. Can I tell you that there are some times that where you've been in a situation for so very, very long, it never seems like you're going to get out of it. But I'm here to tell you and let you know that God is saying in this particular season, you are now about to transition into something greater than you ever imagined, greater than you ever expected. And so here's the thing. There are a few things that we want to look at and want to help you to understand what transitioning really means. When God is telling you to move, you got to move. When God is saying transition, you need to transition. And here's a few things that I want to discuss with you right now. Watch this. When God says to transition, you cannot stay where you were. You cannot stay where you were and transition. Listen, God is trying to elevate many of us to a higher level. He's trying to elevate many of us into a greater place. This is the same thing he did with Joshua. Moses was gone now. So what God did was elevate Joshua into the leadership role, into the leader that God knows he can be. Can I tell you, God is trying to transition many of us into a leadership role because he knows the qualities that he's put within us. He knows what he has given to us. And what we have to do now is to actually rise to the occasion, because it's not just about us. It's not about our plan, but it's about God's plan so he can get glory out of our lives. God's timing is perfect timing. God doesn't move backwards. God moves forward because he's got a forward plan. He's got a place prepared. And so when God tells you to transition, when God tells you to move, don't negotiate with him. Don't sit there and be like, well, I would, but I don't know what it's going to be like if I do. No, trust that God has a plan. So transition. And here's the thing. Keep this also in mind. Where you are now is not meant for you to stay there. It's not meant for that. Case in point, the children of Israel were in the wilderness for 40 years, but it's never meant for them to stay there. God has a plan to take them to the promised land. Even though they've been stuck in a situation for 40 years, God still has a plan to transition them. So understand, whatever it is that you're going through, understand where you are now is not where you're meant to stay. God is transitioning you into somewhere greater. So Joshua 1 and 2 says, now therefore arise and go over this Jordan. This is not a suggestion. God is not suggesting, well, listen, you could go over here. But God is telling him, listen, I need you to go. And we just have to be in a mindset that when God is telling us to go, that he's already got it worked out. Here's the next thing. When God says to transition, he already has a place prepared. Watch this. God showed Moses years ago about the promised land. Fact about it, Moses sent out 12 spies to the land of Canaan, to the promised land, where God said, this land shall be yours. Moses sent out 12 spies to see what the land looked like, how the land was, and can we take it. Only 2 spies came back, Joshua and Caleb, with a favorable report saying, we can take it. It belongs to us. We can take it. Here's another point right here. The point is, when God has promised you something, you need to understand that it's already yours. And yes, you can take it. Listen, there may be some work to do to get there, But rest assured, God has already prepared the place for you so you can get there. So understand, when God says to transition, he's not transitioning you to somewhere that he hadn't already worked it out. He's already worked it out. The place is already prepared for you. All you have to do is make the move. Start moving, and God will make the place straight for you. Whatever it is that you have to overcome, whatever obstacles you have to overcome, whatever it is you have to go through and deal with, God will be right there with you, because I'll never leave you or forsake you, is what he said. And because he's right there with you, what you need to understand is that you can rest in the knowledge that I'm going over here because God promised it to me. And God is going to be with me every step of the way. So understand, the promise already existed. When God talked to Moses, it was already done. So when God talks to you and tells you to transition into a new space, he's already got it worked out. You just got to trust in him. Here's the next thing. When God says to transition, you must trust his presence more than your position. Listen, verse number 5 says, as I was with Moses, so I will be with thee. I will not fail thee nor forsake thee. God is reminding Joshua that, listen, just like I was with Moses, I'm going to be with you. But listen, in our seasons of transitioning and the things that we go through and the things that we deal with, God is constantly reminding us that you're not on this journey by yourself. We're not in this journey alone, but God is constantly with us. Understand, the Holy Spirit lives within you. Because the Holy Spirit lives within you, he's our teacher and our daily guide. He is always with us. We just have to acknowledge that God is always with us and he's leading us into a new space. Here's the next thing. When God says transition, courage is required. Listen. Verse number 6 says, be strong and of good courage. Be strong and of good courage. Look at here. Here's the thing we need to understand. It takes courage to follow God. It really does, because God will ask us to do things, or he will tell us to do things that make absolutely no sense to us. But you have to remember, it's not our plan, it's God's plan. God's plan is bigger than our plans. Here's something that you also need to remember. Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, saith the Lord. Plans for you to be in good health and prosper. Plans to prosper you and be in good health. Plans to give you hope and a future. Meaning God is vested in our success. Because God is vested in our success, that simply means that God wants the absolute best for us. So we have to know that whatever it is, it may not make sense to us when God is telling us to transition or how he's telling us to transition, but we just have to rest in the knowledge that God's plan is bigger than ours, and God is vested in our success. Look, it takes courage. It does. It takes courage to get up and go when God tells you to go. Example of Abram. God came to Abram and told Abram, listen, get up, get your family, get together, and go to a land I'm going to show you. What Abram didn't do is he didn't sit there and negotiate out with God. He didn't sit there and give God a bunch of back talk, or I don't understand why I got to do this or do that, or I don't understand why I'm going through so much. He didn't do any of that. What he did was he got up and he went and he started moving even before he knew where he was going. That takes faith. And it takes courage because he doesn't know where he's going. He's going into a whole new place with his entire family. He's taking his family to a place and he don't know where he's going. But what he did was he trusted that God knew and God already had it worked out. So you got to understand that, and you got to know to be strong and be courageous. Here's the thing about being strong and courageous, because it takes courage to do it. God tells Joshua to be strong and courageous because understand there's some things that you may encounter that you weren't planning on. There's some things that may happen that you didn't know was going to happen, but you got to be strong in it. First of all, you got to be strong in your mind. You got to be strong in your mind to understand that God is with you. You got to be strong in your mind to understand that God would not have given you this assignment if he didn't feel that you could get it accomplished. He would not have tasked you with this if, in fact, he didn't know that you could handle it. When he chose you before the beginning of the world. He chose you before your mother's womb. He chose you and he knew you. And he knew what you had and what you could accomplish. That's the God we serve. He gave you a gift. And he knew that your gifts would come to a point where it has to transition you into something miraculous. You are to make an impact in this world. And God knew that. And that's why he chose you for this particular assignment. So listen, raise up and understand and rest in the knowledge that God's got you, God's with you, and you can be strong and be courageous and not have to fear anything. Just be courageous. Like, listen, I got to go. Listen, I understand that there's some things that may happen that I wasn't prepared for, in my right mind, because honestly, I didn't know this was going to take place. But what I do know is that God will lead me through whatever it is. So be strong and be courageous, because courage is required on this journey in your season of transition. Here's the next thing. Well, before I get to the next thing, I want you to understand. Watch this. Verse number 6, verse number 7, and verse number 9 all talk about courage. Be courageous. Be strong. Have I not told you to be strong? God is telling you to be strong and courageous because the gift or the assignment rather that you have is massive. And it's going to take courage and it's going to take strength to get there. But don't worry, God's got you. Here's another thing. When God says transition, his word becomes your guide. Watch it. Verse number 8 says, the book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night. Listen, the only way to successfully transition to where God is taking you to is to meditate on his word day and night. Listen, what does that mean? That means I have to sit back and think about the promises that he's given to me. What he has promised me, I can't lose focus of that. I have to sit back and constantly meditate on it, sit back and constantly think on it. Then I have to sit back and constantly realize and recognize that in the word, he says, I'll never leave you, nor will I forsake you. In other words, I have to constantly keep my mind focused on what God has told me, and what God has shared with me, and what God has promised me, and what God is leading me to do. Because it's very, very important that I stay focused and on task in order to complete the assignment. Something else. Here's the thing. I want you to also see this. When God says transition, it's not just for you. It's not just for your benefit, because what happens is it's to benefit you as well as others. Watch this, watch this. God tells Joshua, look, I need you to arise and I need you to lead the children of Israel into this place, into this promised land, because now they're going to receive the inheritance of their fathers from what I promised them. I promised their fathers that they're going to make it to the promised land. That's what I promised them. So here's the thing, because I'm telling you to lead them, they have to receive their inheritance. Watch this. Our assignment, whatever God has called us to do, is not just for us, but it's the benefit of others to get their inheritance as well. Watch this, watch this. It's so funny because if we don't make the move and transition like God is telling us to do, then people won't receive their blessing because we are the holdup, we are the problem. And because we're the problem, we're the holdup, God is going to deal with us in that manner. Recognize that whatever you're going through in order to get to where God is trying to take you or transition you into is not punishment. This isn't punishment. God's trying to take us to somewhere greater because he's got other people that you may or may not know. He's got other people that need to be blessed because of what you do and because of the assignment that he's given to you. So understand, can I tell you, it's bigger than you. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than us because God has a miraculous plan for our lives. Again, he's vested in our success, not just us individually, but all of those that encounter us, all of those that encounter what we do or what it is that our assignment is. Those that are connected to us in this season of transition and in this assignment are going to be blessed because they're attached, and they have to be because God has promised them a blessing and they have an inheritance to receive. Here's another thing. When God says transition, don't hesitate, activate. Go ahead and make your move. Go ahead and do what it is because you have the knowledge, you have the understanding that what God is requiring of us, what God is requiring of you is so much greater. And there's so many people that are going to be blessed because when you get where God is telling you to go, when you fulfill this assignment that God has given to you, then not only are you going to be blessed, but they will be blessed. And here's the thing. Now all of this has come to fruition and you are now living in the promise that God has given to you. You are now living in the inheritance. Let's just be real. We're not here because we've been so good. But listen, mother and daddy and grandmother and granddaddy and great-grandparents, they prayed for a better day. They prayed for you even though they may not have even met you. They prayed for you in order to have a better day for you. They wanted better for their family. They wanted great things for their family, and they prayed for their family. And here's the thing, a lot of the inheritance that we're living in on now is because of their prayers. I can honestly tell you, I have been blessed to preach in places not because of who Christopher D is, but because of who my parents were. Because of these people knew my dad. These people knew my mom, and they opened doors to me simply because of the connection that I had to them. Because they had massive respect for my parents, and because they had respect for my parents, they opened doors for me. And I'm so very, very grateful because I understand it's nothing that I did, but it was part of the inheritance of being connected to the right people. So here's the thing. In my conclusion, as I bring this to a close, I need you to see and I need you to understand when God is saying transition, make the move. Don't worry about what it looks like. Don't worry about what other folks are saying. Don't worry about the naysayers. Worry not about any of that. Because understand, God has a bigger plan. God did not reveal his plan to them. That's why they don't understand it. And some people think that you ought to do things in a certain way. Can I tell you this? Whatever they think, it doesn't matter. Never, ever go contrary to what God has said. However, God is leading you, whatever God is telling you, whether it makes sense to them, whether it makes sense to you or not, go with God because God has the plan. God is leading you to the promised land. You have an assignment, and it's your job to fulfill it. So here's what I'm going to tell you. Arise, because it's now your time. God bless your hearts. That's it. That's all I got for you this week. Thank you so much for being with us and being in attendance. We're so grateful. But listen, there may be some people that really do not know Jesus Christ. Can I offer to share this with you? Listen, my first invitation is to get to know Jesus Christ. What that is, my first invitation is to kingdom citizenship. Because when you die, and you will die, you have to have a place to live. And your soul has to go somewhere. God has already prepared a place for us. And here's the thing. You get to live with him in eternal peace, where you will be in the presence of God the whole time. I told you earlier, God has a bigger plan for me. So here's the thing. I want to be in the space with the God who has a plan for my life for all eternity. So my first invitation to you is to kingdom citizenship. And all you have to do is invite Jesus Christ into your heart. Be like, Lord, listen, I have messed up. I haven't been right all the time. I've messed up. But listen, I now know and realize that if I invite you into my life, that you will help me through because you have a bigger plan for me. Will I be perfect all the time? I will not lie to you. No, I will not. But God, I understand that you're faithful and just to forgive me when I'm not right. So that's my first invitation, is to get to kingdom citizenship, to get Jesus in your heart. Then my next invitation to you is, listen, you may have kingdom citizenship under control, but you need a place to, connect with. You need a church family that can help you to keep you on the right path and help you find your purpose and walk into your purpose. We would love to have you connect with Foundation for Christ Church. Listen, what we want you to do is visit our website, foundationforchrist.org. Click on the resource tab. And when you get to the resource tab, you'll find I want to be a kingdom citizen. I want to be a kingdom citizen. And then you'll also find I want to connect with Foundation for Christ Church. Click on either of those, fill out the form, and our counsel will get back with you as soon as possible. Thank you so much. God bless your hearts. We'll see you next week.